Painted Black by um, the Rolling Stones.
Let me open up YouTube to make sure we're going here.
Please do.
Do not click on this Verizon thing.
I have the sound off good. So we are live, it looks like, right? We are live.
We are live.
One can tell us we're wrong. Searching our hearts for so long.
Hi,
But
Faustine.
us knowing love is a battlefield. You're begging me to go. You're making me stay. Why do you hurt me so bad? I can't remember the rest of the lyrics. We are young. Heartache to heartache we stand. Who else is here, motherfuckers?
Okay, well, since we have 6 people on chat, can we
Love
please
is
like, sub, and comment the stream, please? It helps with the algorithm.
Love is a battlefield. We are strong. No one can tell us we're wrong. Searching our hearts for so long. Both of us knowing, right, Amber? We both know.
Both of us know.
Love is a battlefield.
Love is a battlefield. I'm a 12th house chart ruler. Love is a battlefield here.
Well, and your Venus too. Virgo.
Yes, we know.
You know what I say about Venus and Virgo, right? They say Venus falls in Virgo, and I'm like, yeah, on their knees. Boom, boom.
I just want to make sure you get to your Zoom meeting on time.
I mean, we're here. So anyway, we wanted to talk a little bit about Pluto and Aquarius, right? Because it's on my goddamn. I mean, you can look at the chat and you can write down people's information.
Oh, and hi, everyone. Thank you for joining.
But we were
Hi.
specifically going to focus on Pluto. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you that time.
No, you're fine. Say hi to the peoples.
Hello.
Happy Sunday, guys.
We are young. No one can tell us we're wrong.
Hi, Mandy. Thanks for coming.
Searching our hearts for so long.
Why
Both.
are you always driving when we're live? Please stay home and watch the video. I want you to be safe.
Because we tend to go live at 5 my time, and a lot of people are driving home.
Please be safe and traffic. That's all.
Just knowing. So anyway, Pluto, y'all. How about that Pluto? It's in my first house. My ascendant is 1 degree Aquarius. And Pluto's going to cross my ascendant 5 fucking times between now and 2026. So I hope your girl survives this whole thing, because I did what I usually do. And I looked up how recent famous people dealt with it. So people with people with Capricorn rising, you see. And it's really interesting because I first realized Pluto was going to cross my ascendant when I was 22 years old, when I first started getting really into astrology again. And I was getting into, Masonry and other occult groups and stuff like that. And I'm like, holy shit, Pluto's going to cross my ascendant. Yes, 2024 and 2025. And 2025 is a big year. And I've known it was going to be a big year since, again, I was 22 years old. And I saw all this bullshit, And it's quite explosive. For those of you who don't know or don't watch my videos, which you should watch my video. If you haven't seen my Pluto and Aquarius video, you need to watch it. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit about some of it here. But the first time Pluto's gone back into Aquarius since 1778. Now that's when it first went in the last time. You know, he goes retrograde back and forth and, you know, edges, right? He's an edger, edging back into his sign. Yeah. And so he edges back into Capricorn a little bit, you know, just the tip, just to see how it feels, you know. So, and he will go retrograde back into Capricorn again, if I'm not mistaken. So, now, what happened? You know, 1778. We were in the midst of the American Revolution, you see? And you can see that as part of a greater movement, really. And it led naturally to the French Revolution. But what happened was you had a group of colonists who had essentially developed their own identity since the 1600s, more or less. You know, I mean, North and South sort of had their own identities as well. And we saw that pop off later, didn't we? Yes. But what's interesting about all this is the American Revolution really represented the beginning of the end for monarchies in Western Europe. Monarchies had been the dominant power structure, you see, from the last Pluto going into Aquarius, when they gained ascendancy. So what we see when Pluto goes into Aquarius is we see a new ascendant power, for good or for ill. It can be an awful thing, right? I see a lot of idiots saying, oh, viva la revolution, oh, it's glorious revolution, right? Oliver Cromwell called it the glorious revolution in England, didn't he? And it wasn't very glorious, was it? No revolution is glorious, and people shouldn't glorify it. And if anyone knows anything about revolutionary theory, a spontaneous movement like Occupy or something that isn't well organized and guided by theory or guided by ideology, it fizzles out. It doesn't work. That doesn't happen in a world. You see? And I'm saying this is someone who did a little bit of organizing. I wasn't very good at, I mean, I didn't give it enough attention because then I got into a relationship. But a lot of my strain in my marriage came from, you know, my political activity. Because I'm Aquarius rising. And I was very idealistic. I was one of those idiots preaching revolution all the time. You know? But I also grew up in a military family. I never joined the military, but my dad was a colonel in the United States Army. And he took his own life with the gun. Where the fuck is Amber? Like, I'm fine talking, but I can't see what's going on here.
I'm right here. I promise. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just watching the YouTube comments. That's all.
Okay, cool. But
I'm
anyway,
just letting you talk.
pardon?
I said I'm just letting you talk. Do your thing, girl.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, my dad took his own life by gunshot. You know, I've had weapons pulled on me in shady situations, let's just say. You know, I was an unsavory character in my early 20s. So, anyway, I know a little teeny bit that violence isn't fun. And the idea of it, and plus it wouldn't work in the United States anyway. What are people going to go, you know, fire slingshots at drones? It doesn't, you know, stupid. It's like David and Goliath. What you do is like what the United Auto Workers did. And this, to me, is an example of Pluto and Aquarius and the Aquarian spirit, which is egalitarian in a lot of ways. You see, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the furthest visible object, isn't it? Amber, I hope you're taking note of people's birth times and shit so that we can, you know, get to some chart stuff. And we're going to focus on Pluto things in your charts.
Whenever you're ready, let me know, okay?
Okay. Well, I just don't want to piss people off too much.
Oh, no, you're fine. I got you. I always take care of you, don't I?
Yeah, that's true. You do. I
Have
can't
faith.
deny that. Even when I yell at you, you still do.
Have faith in me, damn it. I'm a Scorpio Mars. Have faith in me.
Okay, I have faith in you. I do. You know, I've been with 3 Scorpio Mars partners. I have an unhealthy addiction to Scorpio Mars. But anyway, what's important to recognize through all this is that Aquarius, right? The meaning of Aquarius comes from Saturn primarily. You see, Aquarius is Saturn turned outwards. And Saturn was the original revolutionary before Uranus was discovered. Yeah. And that's where that sort of challenging of authority that we know Aquarius for comes from, right? Saturn also rules outcasts. Yes. Saturn rules the strange and unusual. Right? I'm Aquarius rising. We're known as Saturn out of the box, whereas Capricorn is Saturn in the box, right? Tradition and all that sort of stuff. We're the anti-Capricorn. We're outward. We're like, screw tradition. You know, we want to overturn structures to create new ones. You see? So Aquarius gets a lot of its meaning from that. And we have to appreciate that Pluto is power. Aquarius is what's new. It's the first sign that comes on the waxing cycle of the sun after Capricorn, which is what? The winter solstice, the shortest days of the year. Excuse me. The greatest darkness. And then Aquarius is when the light is growing again, you see? And that's why there's a forward-thinking optimism, even though it's a Saturnian type of sign. You see, everyone thinks, oh, Aquarius is an alien. Well, Saturn was the alien, yeah, the furthest visible object. Now, Pluto is what? Now, we don't have ancient sources for the outer planets. We have to rely on modern astrology, which is, again, based on theosophy, which everyone knows I have issues with theosophy after spending many years in it, or that teaching. But we do get some good understandings of the outer planets from that tradition, at least their meaning subjectively. So, for example, and I'm not a big fan of Alice Bailey anymore, but it's been my primary background. And her book, Esoteric Astrology, and some of her other books paint the best picture of Pluto significations that I know of. Now, Pluto, right? Pluto was the god, the Greek god of the underworld. I know everyone thinks it was Hades, but the name Hades started to refer more to the place and less, right, to the person. And he became more and more known as Pluto, the god of Hades, right? And he was conflated with Plutus, who was the personification of wealth. And that's where a lot of these significations come from that go into Pluto, right? Where we get death and darkness, right? That which is hidden below the earth, right? Because Plutus ruled precious gems, oil, even minerals, precious, valuable things hidden below the earth, you see. Very important. Now, Pluto also came to represent will and power. And in the Bailey tradition, right, the theosophical tradition, it comes from what's called the first ray. We won't go into what all that means, but it's the energy of dominance and will and power. It's the Shiva energy, right? We all know Shiva with the famous quote from the Bhagavad Gita, right, where he says, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds, which is often, right, quoted from J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was the lead of the Manhattan Project that developed the atomic bomb. And that is around the time Pluto was discovered, when we're getting atomic energy, right? 1930s. Although the Manhattan Project was more the 1940s. But it was even in the 1930s too. But you see, there was depth psychology coming out with Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. And then we were getting nuclear energy or nuclear power in a way with, discovering fission. You see how all Plutonian that stuff is, revealing the power of the atom, if you will. Very Plutonian stuff. You see? And the way Pluto was named, I think it was after the Mickey Mouse dog, actually. And that the daughter of one of the astronomers actually got to name the planet. But it ended up being actually, they kept it because it was the god, right, of the underworld. And people don't know this, but Uranus was assigned to Aquarius as a modern ruler because it was the next sequential sign. Saturn, right, they were keeping Saturn as the ruler of Capricorn. And then, like, they're logically thinking, well, let's put Uranus at the next sign, Aquarius. And then in modern astrology, they started importing a lot of significations back and forth. And then Neptune was discovered next, right? In the 1800s. Uranus was 17 something. Neptune was 18 something. And he was assigned to the next sequential sign, which was Pisces, right? Now it just seemed to fit, sort of Neptune watery, right? Sort of fitting with the symbolism of Pisces. And then they started getting conflated back and forth too. And then Pluto was discovered. And guess where they were going to assign his fucking ass? To Aries. Because that was the next sequential sign. Right? And then astrologers at the time were like, well, that doesn't really make sense to have the god of the underworld in Aries. Let's put it in the other Mars-ruled sign, which is Scorpio. And so that's how the modern idiots put Pluto in Scorpio. I don't treat any of the outer planets as rulers of anything, but we're going to look at them because that's the theme of tonight. And what I want you guys to take away before we move on is that when Pluto transits Capricorn, what we see is sort of a dissolution, or rather, the emergence or awareness of the underlying sickness of the dominant power or the established power structure, you see. Things emerge that it's the cracks in the wall, right? The cracks in the dam, which became really apparent from movements like Occupy, that people were getting fed up with things. And then Black Lives Matter, right, came up. Me Too came up. We had lots of whistleblowers exposing things. But then we've also come to an extremely polarized time in the United States, in the world in general. There's the rise of fascist movements worldwide. And Uranus is about to go into Gemini in 2025 as well. The last time that happened was around World War II. You see, this is the third Uranus return of the United States. The time before that, the first Uranus return, was during the Civil War, the American Civil War. Yeah. And then the time before that was the American Revolution, right, where Uranus was in Gemini, and Pluto was edging again into Aquarius, which again, the war started in 1775 and Pluto went in 3 years later. And what's interesting, in 1778, when Pluto went into Aquarius, that's when Lafayette, the Marquis de Lafayette, who was a French commander, they arrived in America to help the colonists fight the British. And then, just 10 years later, he would have the French Revolution, you see. Now, Maximilien Robespierre, Aquarius rising like me, he lost his head when Pluto crossed his rising sign, Aquarius. So that gives me a little bit of concern. But then there were some other stories, like, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but President Erdogan of Turkey, when Pluto crossed his ascendant, he totally reshaped the whole government to give himself more power. He was a prime minister before, and he made himself a president through referenda. And it really just gave him more power. Russell Brand had Pluto conjunct his ascendant when all of his, assault allegations came out, his R word allegations. Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away not too long ago, she started having to give up power to her son Charles because she couldn't do it anymore. She was getting too old. And that's when Pluto crossed her ascendant. Her grandson, Prince Harry, he started like an Olympic game sort of thing called Invictus for wounded soldiers. Soldiers like, who lost limbs or whatever to compete. So in a way, he gave them back their power. I mean, we're not a fan of the things that they did, for sure. But it is sort of interesting that he did that. So what we see with Pluto crossing the ascendant and going to the first house and stuff like that is that your relationship to power from the past definitely affects how you experience the transit. If you've abused other people, you are going to suffer. On the other hand, if you've been abused, and I've been on both sides of it, so I'm going to have a mixed bag probably. But if you've also been powerless, you might see yourself come into a greater sense of power, So I'm expecting both, but I'm hoping more for the other. Anyway, once Pluto does go into Aquarius for all of us, we see the typical power structures sort of flipped on their head. And I'm concerned this time around because progressive forces, right? Inclusive forces are not very well organized, and they're not doing a good job, especially of articulating their positions or organizing. But who is reactionary forces? People who are motivated by hatred and selfishness. Conservatives, I'm sorry to say, I'm alienating a good cross-section of people, but I came from a very conservative family. I was raised by a colonel, like I said. We had a signed picture of Ronald Reagan on the fucking wall, yo. I know conservatism inside and out, you see. And I was definitely a self-hating queer trans person growing up. Yeah. So anyway, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to see. Pluto's opposite Mars on election day. And if you're familiar with anything about zodiacal releasing, Donald Trump is about to have a level 1 peak period for his lot of spirits, right? This is a very big prominent thing. It's a very big deal. It's big league. And he's going to have that in November of 2025. So after the election. And I keep thinking, what the fuck? Is he going to become a dictator? Or is he going to become like Jefferson Davis? I don't know. Thank you, MZ Colston. And we'll get to your guys' shit. I just want to finish this thought. So.
I was going to say you beat me to it. I was getting ready to call out the donation.
Oh.
I was just waiting for you to finish your montage, of course.
My montage? You mean my monologue?
Whatever.
A montage is like a series of scenes stitched together, right?
This is what we need to make a compilation of, a montage of you screaming at me or correcting me with my English.
Yes, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be rude about it. See, I was raised fucking bougie, I'm sorry.
Anyway, are you ready to read these charts?
Just let me finish my fucking thought, but yeah, did you text me the stuff, or are you gonna read it? No, you just read it out to me.
First.
You texted me, we don't have any abruptions tonight. What the fuck is an abruption?
Oh, honey.
What?
That was 40 minutes ago before we went live.
Oh.
Whoops.
Like, what? Okay, what's an abruption? I'm sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, the important thing about this is that there's a lot of potential for violence right now, and people are just crazy, and people are living in echo chambers of nonsense. The stuff that people believe that like trans people are doing surgeries on children and shit, which isn't true. Children are not getting fucking surgeries. People are absolutely stupid. But you see, hateful people have been spreading shit like this. Did you know the first Nazi book burning was of transgender medical research? It was at a sexual clinic run by a guy named Dr. Hirschfeld, right, who was Jewish. And Weimar Germany in the 1930s, before Hitler, in the 1920s, had a very vibrant queer community. They even gave people trans passports because it was illegal to cross-dress, but they gave like trans passports to certain people who were, they called them transex. They called us transsexuals at the time. But you see, stuff happens, it comes around, right? The historical recurrence of the same sort of qualities. I'm an empiricist. I don't believe in things, but you can see the repetition of quality and theme in these big transits like this. So you see the Uranus one, Civil War, and then World War II. And then I think coming up now, it's going to be another difficult situation. So the big thing for all of us to remember is to take care of the most vulnerable among us and to take care of each other, because ultimately protecting yourself, of course, is necessary, but targeting anyone is not right, and it doesn't help. What does help is community, getting to know your neighbors, which I'm terrible at right now because, you know, who wants to meet the trans girl next door? Sounds kind of hot though, doesn't it? But getting to know people in your community, in your area, making connections, this is the stuff that helps us to get through difficult times because we help each other. Very 11th house and very Aquarian, really. Have a little help from my friends. Get high with a little help from my friend. So anyway, I mean, I'm done preaching, I guess, but it's very important because every time we see this big disruption of power structures, before monarchies, it was the Catholic Church, right, that ran everything. And then we had the Reformation. And when Pluto went into Aquarius in the early 1500s, that's when King Henry VIII gave the finger to the Pope. I don't know if I could do that. Oh, shoot. I don't know. Gave the finger to the Pope and called himself the head of the Church of England, you know? And so the Pope's like sort of left holding his dick in his hand. Like, what am I going to do? You know? And the church's power was a lot weaker after. They couldn't control monarchies like they did before, right? Napoleon crowned himself emperor. He took the crown from the Pope and crowned himself. Now, that was in the 1800s, of course, later, after the French Revolution, or during the whole French Revolutionary period. But you see how that energy plays out, don't you? You have a power that's smashed by a rising power. Now, how is this going to pan out? Who's the power right now? It's big capital. Now, it's by and large finance capital, right? Big banks and all that sort of thing. But it's also extraction capital, right? Oil, gas, also pharmaceuticals, but it's capital in general. And what we know from a study of capital is that when unregulated, it concentrates. It concentrates into power. It's mergers and acquisitions. Just what it does. It's not a conspiracy. All the Illuminati idiots need to just shut up about it because there is no fucking Illuminati. There's not. And if there were, it's just cosplay. Secret societies are basically cosplay for rich people. They don't do anything or have any power. Now, you're like, what about Davos and the World Economic Forum? They always say the same shit, like, hey, tax us more. And then governments say, okay, let's tax you more. And they're like, well, no, not really. You know, we were just sort of joking about that. And then they go there and do cocaine, you know, and hook up with each other. It's the fucking conference, you know. Who you need to be worried about is the Heritage Foundation and all these conservative think tanks that are planning to dissolve democracy if they win in 2025. It's called Project 2025. This is very Plutonian. Right? It's about destruction. So why I'm telling you this is because it's necessary for all of us to participate in the civic process. That means fucking vote. And remember, my life is in the balance. So, and this is all pertinent when it comes to Pluto, because it's surrounding all this sort of thing. And remember, Saturn was in Pisces in the 1930s too, when the Nuremberg laws were passed against the Jews that took away Jewish citizenship. I wonder if they're going to do that to us, you know. So anyway, we'll look at charts now, but I want everyone to be aware of the gravity of the situation. And it's not lightly, right? No one should take it lightly. And no one should just cavalierly say, oh, viva la revolution. Do you hear the voices singing the songs of angry men? The men who want to kill me and take my life again, right? Those are the angry men this time. During the French Revolution, it was the bourgeoisie. It was the rich class that didn't have political influence. This time, it's the revenge of the bourgeoisie. Fascism is the revenge of finance and extraction capital in order to sort of keep its power. Meanwhile, look at the revolutionary potential in someone like Sean Fain and the United Auto Workers Union. These people made historic wins, you see. Historic wins. And they did it by organizing. So anyway, let's go to charts now, Amber. We'll look at charts. I just think it's important for people to understand the gravity of Pluto going into Aquarius and why I think it's stupid to sit there and be like, ooh, this is so exciting. Oh my gosh. People, if you're not the fucking object of hatred, of threats, of fascism, you have no business sitting there cheering. Oh yeah, it's easy to cheer then, motherfucker, I swear. You know, especially if you don't have kids, fuck. You know that any grocery store only has 3 days worth of supplies on hand at the most. What happens when supply chains are disrupted? You see?
The purge.
I hate, you see, my little brother keeps saying it's going to be the forever purge. And
Stuff what?
there's a whole series of purge movies. I've never watched any of them because I don't want to. It would scare me.
They
But
also have a
yeah, it's scary, but that's the scenario that we're most likely looking at is the purge. You know, but there was one called the Forever Purge where they're basically going after all the liberals or whatever. And they chase them all the way down to the Mexican border. And so like Americans are trying to cross the Mexican border the other way. It's just, it sounds so sick to me, but that's really, you know, if you have a revolutionary scenario right now, what happens? It's just Mad fucking Max. It's not anything glorious. It's a bunch of conservative warlords who get to take over. So take over their little fiefdoms. Otherwise, we're just going to have fascism. So either way, it's going to be fucked up. I'm sorry. But hopefully people prove their mettle, you know, and that they care for each other. And hopefully organization is possible. I don't know. So I'm trying to be hopeful. So let's get to charts before I keep talking. I know a teeny bit about this shit, you see. I'm not just talking out of my ass.
sips water.
What's that?
I said sips water.
Shut up. You're not sipping water. Don't even lie.
Water, actually.
Fire water.
I can prove it.
What, it could be vodka for all I know. Anyway, I shouldn't say that on mute. Huh?
I don't fuck it anyways.
I know, I'm just playing. Anyway, so what? Let's go to charts and we'll share my screen and do all that bullshit.
Yay, chart readings. Be more enthusiastic. I know you're grumpy today, but let's be enthusiastic.
Oh, you know what? I should be happy because I met a couple and they're coming over tomorrow. So if you don't hear from me, right, Amber, by 5 p.m., then you should call the authorities.
Well, I think I remember where you live at, but just in case, text me your address.
I will. I will. Oh, and we're doing more stickers. So if you want stickers, please, you can email me at frankielynch777 at gmail.com. Okay. And I can send you stickers, but you have to take pictures of yourself posting them on things or sticking them on things. And I'm doing Saturn Girl 2024 bumper
Bumpers.
stickers. They say make astrology sexy again. So they'll probably get me hurt at some point. But I'm gonna make t-shirts too. We're gonna start selling merch, but we need to find good suppliers. Anyway, so let's do someone's chart.
Miss Colston, because she donated.
Oh wait, I should have.
You do.
I should have. I should have. Oh, here it is. Oh wait, here we go. Yeah. Do you hear the voices singing, singing
Thank
the
you,
song?
Joanna, for donating.
Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you. Do you see the voices? I mean, you can't see voices, never mind. I dream the dream of time gone by. I love Les Mis. I do. I do love Les Mis. One of my favorite books is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens about the French Revolution. Anyway, so Ms. Colston, Cancer rising with the moon in the first house. I mean, it's so lovely, but it does tend to have an overestimation of itself, doesn't it? I wonder if your dad passed away early on. Did your dad pass away early on? Or maybe a friend? A death of a friend or a parent that really affected you when you were younger? You know, like before age 30 or something, before your Saturn returnish. But the big thing, and I don't know if we talked about this last time with you, because I remember we talked a little bit about your chart. This is a big fucking time in your life, yo. You got the eclipses oscillating between your 10th and 4th house. What does that mean? It's a time of manifestation. I hate using those sorts of words, but you feel me? It's making shit real in the physical plane, whatever that means to you. In reality, you see, the 4th house is what? It's your personal life, your living situation, your parents. And the eclipse that just happened in October probably ignited one of those issues. You know, you might find yourself either having to move or finding a new living situation or something in particular affecting your parents. Now, eclipses can bring, like Chris Brennan said, I just have to be real with you. Eclipses can bring the best and the worst in our lives. You see? And, you know, we go through them every year, so it's not like it's always a big momentous thing, but they do affect that sort of year of time or the 6 months following that solar eclipse, typically till the next one. So you're going to have, right, the next one in April, April 8th is going to be in your 10th house. And that's going to be wild because typically you see this is a change, a total change in our life direction. Now, even though we have eclipses every year, they're not always in the same houses, are they? They keep moving. We have what's called nodal precession. You see, the nodes determine what an eclipse is because the nodes are where the moon's orbit intersects the Earth's. And what does that mean? That means they're aligned, aren't they? And if they're aligned, and then with the sun, what do you have? You have a fucking eclipse, don't you? So when the nodes are precessing or moving, and they go clockwise, right, through the zone, you know, the other way, in reverse from typical transit motion. So as they progress over their 18-year cycle through these house combinations, we see, and this is something that I do in my practice, and I should probably write a book on it, a little book about the eclipse cycle and about how it represents a psychological emergence and a maturation in our consciousness. You see? So you're going through this phase of the 10th and 4th house. It's bringing the outer to the inner to the outer in a way. And it changes your life direction. And oftentimes it does change your living situation. So this is a big thing. It's a big time for you. And when you have Chiron in the 10th house anyway, you have issues with life direction. So probably early on, it was difficult for you to find your way. I don't know what I want to do. Right? I mean, who really does? Who really does? Oh, we were focusing on Pluto. Do you have any Pluto stuff? Yeah, Pluto sextile Mars. Not really anything else. I mean, if you want to read into Pluto in the 4th house, often has a tumultuous childhood, at least one abusive parent, typically the father or something, sense of a broken home. But you see, Pluto sort of, when it's not aspecting a whole lot of other stuff in your chart, it's sort of insular in a way. Not so much of a focus. So a Pluto sextile Mars is kind of cool. Knows how to get what it wants. Can be a little aggressive about it. Of course. Sorry, I'm eating cheese. But my favorite part here is your North Node in the 5th house, like me. Because we're supposed to get more childlike as we get older. We're often very serious children growing up. We're idealistic. We're motivated by fairness. Shit like that. As we get older, it's like, you know what? I want to have fun. I'm so sick of, having to fight for causes and things, which is what I did a lot of when I was younger, being in spiritual groups and political groups. And now I'm like, I want the attention. I want it all. I want a party. I
Faustine,
want a bean feast. Huh?
Faustine donated.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, that's such a lovely placement. And just remember, as Saturn goes through your 9th house, everything you thought you knew is sort of being stripped away. And it can be quite uncomfortable, But it's good to see when our thinking is crystallized and we get stuck in stagnant patterns. And oftentimes they're not even from us. They're from our parents or our past, people that we know. We haven't developed a more refined sense of thinking. And this is what Saturn going through the 9th house sort of forces us to do. So. Oh, I hope I didn't just swallow plastic. I think that was a piece of pepper. Not plastic. I don't think it was plastic. I hope it wasn't plastic. But I swallowed something. Your Saturn really isn't happy. Jesus.
Please don't swallow plastic on YouTube Live.
I'll try not to.
Unless somebody pays you to.
I mean, you probably don't have a great relationship history with Saturn ruling your 7th house and then being in the 2nd, unhappy and retro in
She
Leo.
commented that her boyfriend got shot in 1992.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I mean, you can see the eighth house thing with the death of something like that. But then, yeah, difficult relationship history, probably. Oh, excuse me. Well, and then you also need someone who has their shit together. You probably grew up sort of poor or lack of resources, but then you need a partner who can sort of have their shit together, has their own money, isn't reliant on you. So, anyway, we should go on to the next person. Oh, I got to do the February horoscopes really soon. Jesus. Wait, let me stop share for a minute. Who's next?
Sonia is our next donation reading. Her birthday is April 19th of 1979.
Okay, hold on. I'm writing Sonia. April 19th, 1979.
Yes.
She
4:28 a.m.
4:28 a.m.
Toledo, Ohio. Which shout out to my Ohio peeps that are watching.
Cool. Shakedown 1979. Cool kids.
Do you like my
What, baby?
shirt? It says dead inside but caffeinated.
Oh, yeah. I see.
I
I
feel
don't wear shit like that.
I am caffeinated.
Good. Good for you.
Fun
Gemini.
fact, Frankie enjoys her coffee black and iced.
Yeah, I can't have cream or sugar. I'm sweet enough. And creamy.
Mhm.
No, my dad was military. We grew up just drinking black coffee. Black plain coffee. But I don't wear prints like that. The only prints I would wear would be Saturn girl things.
I know. T-shirts coming soon.
Okay. So let me share my screen for her chart. Oh. Share my screen, share my screen, share my screen. Check that out. Capricorn moon. Oh my goodness.
Just like my mother. Do you need a hug? You may be not, it's not so with the physical affection though.
I always make fun of Capricorn when I'm like, you remember the movie Bambi and that scene where Bambi's mother dies? Remember how sad you felt and crying? That must be how Capricorn moon feels every day.
Aw, she's an 11th house moon like me.
11th house moons do tend to be kind of popular. They do. And it rules your fifth house of children and fun and all that sort of thing. So I wonder if you had a popular child. And Jupiter's opposite the moon. So I wonder if, and it's an exalted Jupiter too in the fifth house. So I'm pretty sure you do have children or you work with children because Jupiter also rules your 10th house. We'll see things like elementary school teachers and stuff like that. Or you could be like me and just do adult content because the fifth house is also sex. And Jupiter's your 10th house ruler. So we do see people who do sex work or do naughty stuff like adult streaming. We see people who are gamblers and have small businesses sometimes. People involved in sports or politics. Did I say gambling already? Because it's like a money sport. Entertainers, comedians, actors, right? People who do expression and stuff for money, right? Which I'm sort of a performer in this sort of thing. So fifth house sort of stuff. I had the same thing. Mars rules my 10th house and is in the fifth house too. But I also think you probably have children. Oh gosh, you're probably very attractive. Venus, exalted conjunct your ascendant. I'm sure you're very attractive. Magnetic personality. You might even be a sociopath and we'd never know it. dear Aries person, you. I always make fun of Aries Mercury. I'm like, you know, Aries Mercury is like, hey, how does this work? And I'm like, I don't know, not anymore since you touched it. They break everything. I had an Aries Mercury girlfriend, and she was like trying to put the visor back on in the car, the car visor thing. And she just smashed it and broke the holder for the visor. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? You know? So that sort of thing, You have Saturn in the seventh house, which probably makes you hyper independent. But then you have the North Node in the seventh house. So it's like, okay, maybe you were independent when you were younger, but you have to learn how to trust people more and connect with people and let people in to allow yourself to take the walls down and be vulnerable with people. And that's how you establish relationships, isn't it? Is Pluto doing anything big? I guess you have Pluto square the moon.
I see Pluto opposite Mars, but correct me if I'm wrong.
What's the orb on that, sweetheart?
Hold on, I gotta zoom in here. These damn eyelashes are so big.
I mean, we can count it. It's just, what's the orb?
Okay, it's very loose.
But
Too
what
loose.
is it? What is it? It's 8 degrees.
I was gonna say, you had to give me a second. My brain's kind of slow.
It's 8 degrees. So it's a very wide orb, but we could count it. It's just that Pluto's a very slow planet. And Mars isn't the fastest either. If it was the moon, I'd be like, yeah, for sure. Or Mercury, yeah, for sure. But I mean, yeah, we could still call it Pluto opposite Mars, which isn't fun, is it? It's like having to put on armor and nails just to go to the grocery store. It's like you want to you have a loaded weapon to go about your daily life because everything fights you. Everything. We were singing at the beginning of this, we are young, right? Heartache to heartache we stand. No promises, no demands. Love is a battlefield, right? Everything's a battlefield with Mars opposite Pluto. And the big thing for that is learning when to take off the armor and allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because if you keep fighting people all the time, you don't really get to connect. And you don't really fulfill all this wonderful Piscean ascendant stuff, which is about what? It's about giving. It's about giving to people and not stupidly. It's about sharing in their suffering. Now you could say, well, Pluto in the eighth house, what does that mean? And again, I don't give it a lot of credence, but you see people who have unpleasant psychic experiences, awful nightmares, sleep paralysis, a sensation of evil demons or shit. I don't believe in all that nonsense, but you have that sensation. You see? And people do have psychic experiences. I mean, people have them. I've had them before. I can't just, like I said, I don't believe in things, but I doubt experiences sometimes too. But this is a common theme. Now, what I really wanted to talk about was Pluto. Now, this is a 6-degree orb, right? But still quite interesting. And it's the moon, and the moon moves very fast. I treat orbs with the moon, especially conjunctions and oppositions, going up to 10 degrees. Because the moon moves very fast, you see. With squares, I'd say, maybe 7, 8 degrees, but still. When I see moon square Pluto, I think of what? The bipolar coaster and mama trauma. So I often see domineering or abusive mothers, and I see people with really intense and volatile emotions. And people who can't just have normal fucking relationships. It's like everything has to be urgent. Everything has to be like a state of emergency, you see? Everything's got to be like, I I want to wear his skin like a coat, right? It's like wanting to merge or bleed into another person. Everyone wants, the romance with Dracula and Mina, right? Is that her name, Mina? Which was the one that he was in love with? Was it Mina? I can't remember. But the one that Winona Ryder played. I used to love her when I was a kid. I had such a big crush on her. I mean, you could see the girls that I was attracted to. Fairuza Balk, right, who was famous from The Craft. Winona Ryder, who was famous from Beetlejuice, right? Christina Ricci, who, got famous from Addams Family. Oh, there was Punky Brewster. I mean, she was just Punky Brewster. Who else was a big one? Who else was a big one? Well, I mean, now I love Meg Myers. She was very dark for a while. But you see a theme, the dark gothy girls. But anyway, it's a very consistent theme. There's a lot of pain and stuff, probably from childhood, right? A lot of childhood stuff. Baggage that we carry around. And oftentimes hyper independence is a trauma response. So now I haven't seen the chat, so I don't know if any of that's true. We should probably move on to someone else, but I should mention the eclipses really quick. The eclipses are going between your second and eighth house, so this is all about money. You see, from April, it's going to determine, right, your resource situation moving forward. You're going to have a big ending or big beginning in your financial situation, or if you run a business or something, you're going to see some big updates. So try and take everything in stride. Now, when you have the eclipse in October, I hope you've saved properly, because you can have losses sometimes. So just, be careful. It doesn't always have to be that, but it does tend to be. So just take care with your money situation. And Saturn's going through your first house. So your personality is being totally deconstructed anyway. I came out as trans when Saturn was going through my first house. So we get faced with parts of ourselves that we've avoided, you see. So Venus sextile the moon, it's so sweet. It's also attractive. My spinner. My spinny spinner. I need to fidget with things. Anyway, we should move on. We should move on. Ambidextrous.
Frankie.
Frankie Dextrous. You know what? And I swear to God, it's so weird hearing my name Frankie now. I'm so used to Saturn Girl. And even when I go to like adult events and things like that, I go by Saturn Girl.
Can I call you Kiki then?
Can you call me what?
Kiki,
No,
since Frankie is
no.
since Frankie isn't feeling familiar anymore.
No, why would you want it? Why would I accept Kiki? That's absolutely daffy.
Because you don't like Frankie, and then it's just like a play on the last three letters of your name. I know. Grow up.
Disgusting.
I know. I'm absolutely disgusting. We know this.
No, I didn't say you. I said the name Kiki. It sounds like I shouldn't say what I was thinking.
No. Leave it to yourself.
It was funny though. It's just
You can tell me later.
can
Well,
get
we're not
me in trouble.
by you.
Okay, so what's her name now?
Faustine. You have Faustine stuff, don't you?
Oh, I do. Yeah. Faustine.
We love you.
You know your skin and bones. I don't know. It makes me think of that song, Yellow by Coldplay. I hate Coldplay. I hate Coldplay so much. Just hearing them makes me angry. Where's Faustine? I know I have his shit somewhere. Are you kidding me? There's no way I don't have his shit. Like you gotta be fucking joking me. Let me search real quick before I type it in. God damn it, it doesn't show up. Okay, let's type it
I'll
in.
go in the comments and grab it. Give me 3 seconds.
Faustine, you know your skin and bones.
May 16th, 1980.
Oh, that's right, he's a Taurus. Oh,
You
he's
know who
about
I miss?
who?
Boris the Taurus.
Oh yeah, Boris the Taurus. We only got to talk to him once though. God, I feel so gross. What time was Faustine?
8:30 a.m.
And he's somewhere in France.
Marcel. I'm
Marseille.
gonna botch Marseille. Okay, I'm gonna botch all the foreign. I love you guys. I just never traveled outside of this country, so if I botch like your names, I'm sorry.
And it's okay. I'm an elitist bitch. So I'm sorry. I'm an elitist bitch. And Amber's like more real. So Mars,
Frankie's secret job is a geography teacher.
well, I'm very keen on geography. I have a ninth house stellium. So my dad made me learn the five pillars of Islam by the time I was 11 years old, I think. He was a world traveler. So I have Marseille, Marseille. Is that correct, Amber?
Yes, according to the spelling. You said Marseille, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me share my screen. Oh yeah, I remember this. Cancer. Venus in Cancer conjunct the ascendant. I mean, he's probably, oh, I've seen him before. I know what he looks like. But usually it's pretty attractive, you know? I think I've seen you before, haven't I, Faustine? I'm pretty sure I have. I can't remember. I almost said, oh, you got Chiron conjunct the sun like me, but it's really wide. It's over 10 degrees. And Chiron moves really slow. But when I see Chiron in the 11th house, along with the sun, I think someone who is still, liked to connect with people in groups and like-minded people and everything, but they felt left out. And they probably felt bullied and they're probably suspicious of other people. So, but again, like the other Cancer rising person, you've got Saturn going through your ninth house. Saturn going through your ninth house. We talked a little bit about what that means. Having to deal with the deconstruction of our beliefs, our worldviews, our politics, what we hold dear. And by hold dear, I mean in terms of ideology. But it also can do with travel, long distance travel, and being that you're in Europe, I mean, travel between countries is very common. So I don't know if it's going to have to do with travel restrictions, or being stuck where you are for a while. It's very difficult right now in Europe, Europe is getting as polarized as the United States is, especially when it comes to the whole Israel-Palestine thing with Gaza. And not just that, but a good cross-section of Europe is getting really transphobic too, and getting very fascistic. I mean, there's a big fascist movement in Spain, big fascist movement in Italy, especially Italy, right? They were all doing fascist salutes on the anniversary of these straight up Nazis being dispatched. Anyway, you got the same thing coming up in Greece and even in England, you know. Even in Canada, you got some of that. It's not as bad as it is in the United States, you know, necessarily, but still. So you could see restrictions from travel and things like that that come up. And you're going to have Saturn opposite your natal Saturn at some point, you know, in the next, what, year or so. I think it's probably, I mean, late in 2025. So that'll be a reckoning, you see. It's like the halfway point for the Saturn return. It's the Saturn opposition. And these are difficult times oftentimes. Or rather, instead of just saying difficult, I should say they expose weaknesses. And we have to address our weaknesses, unfortunately. So I think I've probably talked about your 12th house moon before. Anyway, and then the eclipse is going between your 10th and 4th house, like I talked about with the other person, you see. And as I said before, this totally changes your life direction oftentimes. And like I said, we do oftentimes have to move or our living situation gets disrupted. For you, that was likely something that started this past October, and you'll see it continue in or sort of reemerge next October, this coming October. But in April coming up, I'm pretty confident that you're going to start to change your life direction. It could be in terms of career, but it's not always. The 10th house is what you're known for. It's your public life. It's what you're recognized for, you see. So I know for me, I quit a job of 20 years. I think I've said that many times, but it was a big, important time in my life because it brought me here, you know? So, and as I said, it's not always a lovely, hunky-dory thing. I wonder if you have anything to do with academia, you know? Am I glitching out, Amber? I have a weird.
No, you're doing just fine. There's no glitch on my audio.
Okay, because I'm looking at this. I don't know, there's some bullshit here on my screen. It's like a little Wi-Fi message, but I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm fucking hardwired in. I'm hardwired.
Everyone in the chat, is our audio good? Let's just do a quick audio check.
Check 1, check 2, check 2.
Everyone press 1 if they can hear us.
Check, check, check. Mic check. I'm just asking because I have this weird little icon that looks like my bandwidth is running low. But I don't know.
How many things do you have hooked up to your internet?
I don't know. A shitload. Got my phone, my daughter's iPad, I think. The TVs.
Okay. There's ones coming in the comments. Everyone can hear us just fine.
That's cool. So anyway, you see, and I've already talked about that 10th house thing, so hopefully you were listening to that. Because that was quite important. Now, Mars is going through your 7th house. I think you're single, but if you're with someone, you're having a disruptive time in your relationships. The good thing about that is that Venus is going to enter your 7th house in just a few days, right? On the 23rd. Oh, excuse me. And that often mends the rifts in our relationships that Mars sort of initiates. The thing you have to be careful of when Mars is going through your 7th house, and I got this from Chris Brennan, but I've seen it bear out in reality too, that as Mars goes through your 7th house, you often see the beginnings of what could cause a breakup. It's not always the breakup itself that's indicated, but the beginnings of one oftentimes. A fight that just creates a rift, or anger or something, right? That ends up being a bigger thing later. Or it's the beginning of the end, so to speak. But I think you're probably single. When you're single with this, you really start getting aggressive and itchy on the, like you get really kind of horny, I guess. Lonely-ish, like you really want a relationship. Something I see pretty often. Like as Mars goes through your fifth house, that's the horniness thing. But through your seventh house, it's, I mean, I'm almost remiss to say loneliness. It's not so much loneliness as it is desire, like to have someone, you know? So that does come up, but Venus going through your seventh house could make you more charming, even though it's Capricorn. You know, when I think of Venus in Capricorn, I think of the Bauhaus women of late Weimar Germany. You know, they were very black and white. They did not smile. They were German artists, German women who are artists. I think that sort of thing is hot. It's very Saturnian. Think of Venus in a Saturn ruled sign. You know, like Wednesday Adams. Right? That's Venus in a Saturn ruled sign, sort of. Think of the girls, right, that I was interested in, like Firuza Balk, right, from The Craft. You know, very Saturnian in a way, or Venus in a Saturn ruled sign. Has anyone ever seen that movie, The Return to Oz? And that was when Firuza Balk was just a young girl. She's a couple years older than me. She's like 3 or 4 years older than me. But no, oh no, like 3 years older than me. He's 1980. But anyway, right, that movie made a big impression on me, and she did too. And I was what? I mean, she was like 10, I must have been 6, you know, and I remember thinking, like, oh my God. But it was a great movie, also, very dark, but she's a very compelling person. Just made me think the Venus and Capricorn thing. So, but that should be good. That should be a nice, easy, or relief of pressure, you see. What else was I thinking? Oh, Jupiter's going to go into your 12th house in May, Gemini. So if you've been dealing with addiction issues, mental health issues, if you've been feeling like you're hitting the, you know, the edge, so I walk it on by and I step to the edge to see my world below. Do, 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 do. As I laugh to myself, all the tears roll down. 'Cause it's the world I know. It's the world I know. Right? That's collective soul. It's what I think of when Jupiter goes into the 12th house. I think of someone who's sort of been on the edge for a while and starts to take a step back. It's oftentimes a great time for therapy. Starting to address self-destructive behavior, self-destructive issues. You know, maybe we get sober. Maybe we get into therapy. Maybe we start some sort of support group. I don't know. Sometimes we seclude ourselves. We take time out. And like healthy seclusion, where we need to contemplate and process trauma and pain and stuff. So I walk it on by. Faustine steps to the edge. Right? Anyway, we should go on to the next person. Stop sharing. Your makeup does look good, Amber.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I wish I had, I need to put lashes on. I don't have lashes. Like, my lashes are fucking blonde.
If you need any lash recommendations from Amazon, you let me know and I will send you a link.
I have some falsies. I just never put them on. I need to. I should just do it. So anyway,
So Joanne's next because I'm sorry, Joanna. because
Okay.
she did donate. So thank you for donating.
Thank you,
We
sweetheart.
did.
Thank you. And yes, I'll share donations with Amber. Of course I won't share it. No, yes, I will.
He's not that greedy, I promise.
No, I'm not. She
Only in matters,
was that
only in matters of business.
and sex.
Well, that too, but you
I'm
know.
a greedy lover. No, I'm not. I'm a pretty giving lover, but I am greedy too. I'm a thirsty bitch. What's that?
I said depends on the person.
Depends on the person, but I'm always thirsty. I'm always parched. So Joanna, birth date, time, city.
12, 26, 1987,
Okay,
5:04 a.m.
okay.
He's from your neck of the woods, Los Angeles.
Oh, there we go. I
Los
mean,
Angeles.
that just means she sucks at driving. I mean, in San Diego, we would drive 90 miles an hour, like average. 80, like between 80 and 90. They do the same thing in LA, but they go, like they crisscross like 4 fucking lanes of traffic going 80, 90 miles an hour in LA. Either that or it's a parking lot. It's one or the other. It's either you're stopped and not moving for hours. The fucking 405 may as well be a war zone. But then the 5 has all these weird little things, weird little changeovers. There's so many fucking freeways in LA that like crisscross. It's like a pinball machine. It's crisscross. There's a freeway. Oh, there's another freeway. No, they're all merging into one giant fucking freeway that's like 7 lanes across. Why do you need a 7-lane freeway? Or maybe it's only 6, but at some points it gets to 6 lanes. Or maybe it is 7. I don't know. And you know what I'm talking about? Where like 5 freeways fucking converge in LA. It's like the 5 405, the 7 something. I can't remember what they are. The 42 or the 22. It's like, is it the Long Beach? I can't remember all this shit. I don't remember. I just remember getting really pissed off when I have to used to drive to Kern County to visit one of my ex's families. Kern County. It's the highest execution rate in the country, even more than Texas. Anyway, so Joanna. I love the name Joanna. I love the name Joanna. Ooh. I used to have a crush on a girl named Joanna. Yeah, I sure did. Ooh, a Sag rising. I've dated many Sag risings. Well, like 3 or 4. 3 or 4 Sag risings. Dated 4 Leo risings. It's a competition in my life between Leo and Sag. I think I've been with 4 Leo suns and 3 or 4 Leo risings. 4 Leo risings, I guess. Is there any crossover? No. Excuse me. But then I've been with 4 Sag suns and only 3 3 Sag risings. So Leo's starting to win, you see. Leo's starting to win. But see, I was married for 12 years, or married for 7 years. I was with that person for 12 years total. And I was totally faithful, so I wasn't, exploring at that time. But you better believe I started exploring after. And I don't know what it is, but I'm Leo bait. Like they all fucking love me. I don't know what it is. Probably because I let them, you know, use my face as their throne. And I worship their naughty bits. And they seem to like that. So. You Pisces moon, you. And you got Saturn square the moon. Fuck, that sucks. And it's really closely square. It's rough. That's rough, girl. You're just a couple years younger than me. You're my little brother's age. My little brother's age. And I call him little, but he's what, 36, 37, 37, 36? I don't know. But he's not little. I mean, he's shorter than I am. But anyway, so you have the opposite fucking thing here. You got Saturn in the first house. When I see Saturn in the first house, I'm like, this poor baby. This poor baby's codependent. And with Saturn square the moon, codependency. Now you might be thinking, oh, they have Venus and Aquarius. They're very aloof and detached and removed. Like, yeah, maybe a little. Maybe they need their space, but they also need validation. They need to feel loved. They get anxious in relationships typically. Oh my gosh, I almost knocked over my water. They get anxious in relationships typically. Sometimes they have this terrible lack of confidence that comes from mom. Because mom treated them like, you're not good enough. You're not ladylike enough. Like you need to be like this and like because Saturn tries to fit you into a mold. And the moon is very sensitive, isn't it? Especially the moon in Pisces. Moon in Pisces is sort of like a mop, isn't it? Sucks up all the dirty, filthy emotion around it. The only difference is you can wring out a mop, can't you? You can't really wring out a Pisces. The only way to wring out a Pisces is by giving them alone time to disentangle their own emotional states from that of others. I love that sound. I love that sound. The vibration. Oh, I'm stimming. I'm sorry, I'm stimming. Oh, sorry. It got twisted in my hair. But you see, it's a very sensitive placement, and it can be sort of a martyr and a people pleaser because it tries to seek its validation through other people. And there's an apprehension about being alone with that sort of thing, abandonment issues we often see. So I can't see the chat, so I don't know if you're agreeing with me at all. Now, the cool thing, though, is that you and I would probably get along very well. Your Venus would be conjunct my ascendant, 4-degree orb, well, 3-degree orb, actually. So I bet we'd get along. Oh my God, and your Mars is trying my Venus. It's loose, but it's still trying. I don't mind loose. Oh, your Pluto's trying my Venus. Oh my gosh. You better stay away from me, sweetheart, because we'd probably start a fire. Start a fire. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world was turning. I love Capricorns. I do. Excuse me. I do. And my Jupiter's conjunct your ascendant. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But the eclipses are going between your, oh, I lost my spinner. Between your 5th and 11th house. So you see, in 2022, it was a very frustrating year. You would come out of a big existential crisis from 2021, and you entered into this cocoon phase, perhaps of isolation, having to address your mental health and physical health. Very frustrating sort of time. You see? But now what? You're in the 5th and 11th house phase where you've what? Sort of emerged into the light of day. I think of this as the butterfly coming out of her cocoon, you know? Or a moth. If you're like me, you're a moth. We're the nighttime butterflies. We're the silver butterflies. We're the dusty butterflies, right? The dusty butterfly. Mothy dust. It's pixie dust. Right? Moth dust is pixie dust. And you're a nighttime baby like me. You have a night chart. You have a first quarter moon-ish, kind of a first quarter. No. I mean, it's the beginning of a first quarter, perhaps, or more of a crescent, I suppose. But there's a little bit of naivety around you, you see, and it's a nice, pleasant naivety, even though you have sort of you're still a Capricorn. But there's something soft and sweet about you. And I'm not flirting with you, don't worry. Not yet. But there's something soft and sweet about you. And just wounded and tortured a little bit. And I expect it was from your parents. Especially your mother. Maybe, see, when I see the 5th house ruler, which for you is Jupiter, in the 5th house in Aries, I often think dad cheated on mom, or dad got around, or dad was a ladies person, or had a, an affair or something like that. I hate the word affair. It's so 1980s, but dad cheated on mom or whatever. Infidelity. See, that's why I'm polyamorous, because I can fall in love with other people. And it's okay. It's okay. Of course, they can fall in love with other people too, and that's where the maturity starts having to come in. Thank God I'm Aquarius rising, but I'm also a Cancer Venus. I fall in love at the drop of a hat. Oxytocin is my enemy. Once I come, it's like, I'm in love with you. I mean, not really. It's like 1 person out of 10, but still. 1 person out of 8, maybe. Oh. So anyway, the Saturn moon thing is really rough. We see it associated with mental illness, especially depression. Mars in the 12th house, right? Mars rules what? Your 12th house, but also your 5th house. So if you do have children, nothing to be worried about, but sometimes our children do suffer with, or do have to deal with depression. Or I do see neurodivergence of sorts with the 12th and the 6th house, but more the 12th. So like the autism spectrum disorder, ASD. There's lots of different, people are very functional. I have a lot of friends with Asperger's and autism. I mean, I'm transgender. Like 90% of fucking trans women are autistic or have autism. So, and they live, very fruitful, normal lives. So nothing really bad necessarily. It's just something that we do see with that sort of placement. So anyway, so these eclipses are really sort of ushering you into a time in your life when you have to reconnect with people and start to learn to have fun again and enjoy yourself. Or sometimes we do have big events that do happen around our children. That's also a thing too. You see? I mean, when I was having the eclipses going between my 5th and 11th house, it's when I came out, literally came out, right, as transgender and as pansexual. So, I think of this as coming out of the cocoon, but it's literally coming out sometimes. Sort of interesting. Saturn going through your 4th house makes you feel like an alien in your own space, Makes us feel like we don't have a home. If your parents are still around, it strains those relations. Sometimes parents get ill or whatever. Sometimes we have difficulty in buying or selling land. Sometimes we have to face hard truths about our past or our genealogy or whatever. You know, people find out they're adopted or something. Not that that's bad at all. It's just it can be a shock to people, you know? So, but also, you know, if you are still close with your parents, check in on them because, especially your father, because that can signal difficulties for that. Oh, Jupiter's going to go into your seventh house in May. That'll be fun. So if you have a long-term partner, you could see things get better, you know, falling in love again or starting to have and starting to enjoy things together again, starting to reconnect. Yes. Because what you don't just fall in love one time and have a relationship that fizzles out. You have to keep falling in love over and over and over again to have a long-term relationship or marriage. And why is that? Because we change as people so much. We change. We change, don't we? Hey, Mars trying the moon. Oh, look at you. Emotional, passionate. I just get so worked up. You know, I think of someone like Bernie Sanders. The 1%. We gotta go after the 1%, the great state of Vermont. My good friend Joe Biden. He's gotta take care of the 1%, you know. Very passionate guy, right? A lot of energy for 80 fucking years old or whatever the fuck he is. So, a lot of passion and energy. We should probably move on to someone else, but the eclipses are really the big thing. Do we have anyone else? Oh shit, I don't want to show that. Do we have anyone else, Amber?
Yes. We have Empress.
Let me go to my, hold on, give me 1 second.
No, you're fine.
I know I'm fine. I'm fine as fuck.
Absolutely.
So who's the next person?
Her name's Empress.
Oh, Empress. Like the childlike Empress from the Never-Ending Story. I need a tissue.
I'm gonna check the comments while she's away.
Oh yeah. Empress. The childlike Empress. What's her date of birth?
October 2nd, 1992,
Time.
8:57 a.m.,
Oh,
Midland, Texas.
Midland, Texas.
Midland.
I've had, see, when I think of Midland, Texas, I think of George H.W. Bush, you know, because I mean, he was from Kennebunkport, Maine, but they lived in Midland, Texas because they were oil people. Anyway, I know way too much about politics.
You do.
That I love politics more than I love astrology. That's why I laugh when people are like, "You're just an astrologer." I'm like, okay.
I hold more titles than one.
Yeah, my fucking hair is like Spanish moss. It's like a Brillo pad. My
Oh no.
steel wool, and you tease it apart, and that's my fucking hair. You could clean sinks with my hair.
That's so bad, Frankie.
Well, it's true. You could take some of my hair and it's like a scouring pad. You could clean your
I've
dishes.
your hair before.
What's that, baby?
I said I've never touched your hair before, so I don't know. But
Well, when you do someday, it's it's coarser than a fucking abrasive sponge.
I am willing to shave my head off and give it to you.
I don't know how that would help me in any way. Like,
Well,
what
I
would you do? Like, stitch it into my scalp? Like, what?
yeah, you could just shave it off, sew this into a wig, and this is your permanent wig forever.
I want my own hair, though. I mean, like, I want it to grow out of my fucking head. I need to get gene therapy. They need to hurry up on that shit. Like, so I can change my genetic. Just my hair. That's all I want. Just my hair. Everything else is fine. My hair's not even that bad. It's kind of cool the way it stands up in the back.
No, I love it. It reminds me of the Little Rascals. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I don't like that reference.
Aw.
You're saying I look like fucking alfalfa. I have nothing like alfalfa. I'm more like Darla.
Oh, Darla.
Yeah, I'm more like Darla.
My love life is like that note that Alfalfa gave to Darla.
Alfalfa is such a dork. He's just such a little wiener. Ugh. My grandfather used to make me watch old television all the time. So I had to watch like the old Little Rascals. And then I had to watch fucking um I mean this was from the 60s. He was from earlier, but what was that one? Oh, I Love Lucy, The Munsters, Green Acres. Oh, I had to watch MASH, but I guess MASH was more recent. MASH was what, 1970s? So I Dream of Jeannie. I used to like I Dream of Jeannie. Anyway, we should do this motherfucker's chart. Sorry. Share screen. There we go. Oh, Libra rising, as if we give a shit about them.
Gross. Excuse you, ma'am. We love our Libra risings. I love you, Libra risings, as long as you love me, although.
She's
We'll,
saying that because she's Libra rising.
we'll talk about my natal chart later because it's a square, but I can't put that on anybody else,
You
especially.
always, it's always like, hey, here's my natal chart every fucking time.
Here's my natal chart. It's a square.
We never look at my natal chart.
We never look at any of our charts, mine or
Yeah, we
yours.
do. We look at yours. We have looked at yours.
We've looked at synastry between you and me. We've looked at
Not between you and me, with some other dude and you.
no, we've done you and me before.
We have?
Yeah,
I don't
like
think so.
7 videos ago.
What, not
Somebody,
live.
somebody requested it towards the end.
I don't remember that.
I'll pull it up for you when we get off.
Okay.
Let's stop getting distracted.
Yeah, easier said than done.
I know. Look who I'm talking to.
You're talking to triple air.
I know. It's nothing but air in that brain.
I have the attention span of a goldfish. You know?
I get 1 minute of attention and then she just goes on into something else.
Well, you know what my daughter does to me? She'll be trying to tell me a story, and she has Mercury in Cancer, so she's really slow at telling stories. She's like, and she'll see that my eyes start glazing.
Oh no,
And I
Frankie.
start zoning out. She's like, she starts snapping and waving at me. I'm so bad. And I'm the one who preaches about focusing attention, you know. Meanwhile, I'm like, anyway, so we have a Libra rising here. This means so the first thing I think of is like with Amber, the eclipses are going between your first and seventh house, which is one of the most important times of our lives in these 18-year cycles. Why is that? Well, they often facilitate big breakups or the birth of a new relationship or something like that. But what do these do to us? They stimulate these existential crises where we're like, well, what's wrong with me? What does this all mean? What does this mean to me? We start to doubt ourselves and doubt our feelings of ourselves. When we relate to people, our relationships, they change our feelings about ourselves, right? Because what are relationships? Romantic relationships are psychological collision. We crash into each other, don't we? And we push each other's buttons, right? That we didn't even know we fucking had in the first place, right? It's like two charts just crashing into each other. And we see how they crash into each other through various aspects. But then It makes us aware of these parts of ourselves that we weren't really aware of, that were more or less dormant until we met this other person. And then we become aware of our unconscious patterns. And it's not like they just emerged from meeting someone. It means we started to notice them. Because most of our life is lived totally unconsciously. You don't fucking know yourself. I don't know myself either. I'm no one to say anything, but I've done enough work to know that I don't know a lot about myself. And a lot more has reemerged a lot. And that's why we're here. If there's a purpose to life, it's to understand your own existence. Because that's the most amazing thing. Hi, cat. Hi, sweetheart. Come here, baby.
Which kitty is that?
It's Castor. It's the
Yay, baby Castor. Where's
he's
Polix
gonna,
at?
what, baby?
Where's Polix at?
He's laying on the bed, the fat motherfucker. Can you see him? He's over there.
I've never heard the cats so quiet for such a long period of
I
time.
know they're usually yelling at me.
Let me not jinx it.
Well, yeah, I know. Um, anyway, it's a big important time in your life because, again, you're feeling a complete new beginning in sort of your sense of self. It's really a wild time. And it changes the way we relate to people. And the way we relate to people changes the way we relate to ourselves a lot of times. Here, let me bring the, give me a palette. He's so huge. He's the big squishy baby. He's the big squishy baby. Yes, you are squishy baby. Anyway, really is an important time in your life. And then the next phase is going to be when you enter the cocoon and you start having to internalize and process all these big changes you're going through. You see? Jupiter's really not happy. Really not happy. I wonder if you got bad relationships with a sibling, or if a sibling is an addict or mentally ill. I just want to know for my own edification. I'm sorry, you don't have to tell me, but I just want to know. Do you have a sibling who is mentally ill or hidden somewhere, or an addict of some sort, alcoholic perhaps? Or was hidden from you, like from another marriage or from infidelity? I don't know. Because your fourth house ruler is Saturn in the fifth house. And oftentimes dad cheats on mom with that. You know, so I'm sorry, Fatto. You don't like this. Oh, he likes his face wrapped. He's got a cat face. I love cat faces. Cat faces are so sweet. I love cat faces. And I love cat lips. Cats have these little lips like little inchworms, right? Little inchworms. Yes. I know you're getting sick of me. Okay, fine. Oh my gosh, Mars in the 10th house. Opposite Uranus. I have Mars opposite Uranus too. No one can tell us shit. No one can tell us what to do. But you see, you have Mars and Cancer in the 10th house. That's no fun. So you're like, you don't want to listen to people, but you don't want to tell them. You're too scared to tell them that you're not going to listen. Right? You suck it up inside. When I see Mars and Cancer, people let shit build up and build up and build up. And then they go, ah! Right? Then they go, ah! And they freak out on you and they cry. They always cry. Mars and Cancer cries a lot.
Well, no, I haven't had that experience with men, but I haven't seen the Mars and Cancer women cry yet. But I'll probably get to that point eventually.
Oh, they're fucking crying on the inside. They're whining.
Oh, I know that man cried on the inside. He had to.
They're whining like little, you know what. So,
Not saying you are though. We love you.
no, of course we love you. But you also don't like authority. but there's a passive aggressiveness towards it, you see. So now,
Pluto in the second house. That's interesting.
why is it interesting?
Just a change of values over time. Or
How
just
so?
just I mean, even growing up, it's an indication of being poor.
Well, you know what I think when I see Pluto in the second house?
You tell.
I think of a miser. I
A
think of
what?
Scrooge. I think of a miser. Do you know what a miser is?
Oh, the misers. Oh, okay. You're talking about this. Okay. No, I get what you're saying.
A miser is someone who hoards money, someone who doesn't like to share. I think of like Scrooge McDuck, or Ebenezer Scrooge, right? Scrooge McDuck was a derivative character from Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. But I think my mom had this. The United States has this. We see it with people who are like, no, it's mine. No. Like my mother, she goes into like Starbucks and takes all the fucking free sugar and straws and shit and napkins and shoves them into her car because she's got this sense of scarcity that she can't shake. Like God forbid we go into a restaurant and she like steal all the ketchup. Or if we, stayed at a hotel, like I paid for us to go to Disneyland before we moved here, and I paid for us to stay in a hotel. My mom like steals the fucking shampoos and the soap and the bathrobes and everything she can. I'm like, yo, they're gonna charge me for that shit. It's not like, you know.
I feel
But
like
that
you could take one thing, just like take soap. I feel like soap is the one thing they're not gonna miss.
that's another thing I used to do organizing. Is we used to collect shampoos, soaps, toiletries, tampons, pads, and stuff. And we used to give them to homeless people. That was another cool thing. I almost got arrested for that. In the
What?
city of Escondido, they threatened to arrest me for holding a food sharing event for homeless people at a park. Because
Because you didn't have a permit?
well, they said we were encouraging panhandling. I'm like, it's a fucking public park. You don't need a permit for any of this shit. Just suck my chicks. Sorry. Anyway. So yeah, when I say I know a teeny bit about organizing. Like I know a teeny bit. I'm not just talking out of my ass. For all those revolution, vive la revolution. Shut up. I understand people suffer, believe me. And I can't stand that. But I don't think the answer to relief of suffering is causing exponentially more suffering. I don't know. I guess what do I know? What do I know? Do you hear the voices singing, singing the songs of angry men? It is the music of the people who love to complain again. I'm just saying the ones that get their voices heard with all this tend to be more affluent and lighter skinned. Let's put it that way. I'm always a little suspicious if anyone's really advocating for the poor, the working class, oppressed communities, people of color, the LGBTQI community. I guess I should say A too. So, well, anyway. Do you hear the voices singing? Scorpio Venus. Ooh, you also have your Pluto trine my Venus. Everyone from like 1987 to 1992. Pluto trine my Venus. Here's my number. Call me. 8675309. It's not really my number, but you know what I'm saying. Pluto trine Venus is one of my favorite things in synastry. The sex is so hot. And it's just really intense. It's like, spit your blood into my mouth, mommy, please. That kind of thing. Oh, you have Mars square the sun. So you do have a terrible temper, don't you? Even though you're passive aggressive about it. You're just, your lips probably get tired from pursing your lips. You probably work, you have strong lips because they're always puckered, like you ate a fucking lemon mixed with onion. you know? So you just want to watch out for the being pent up sort of thing. Eclipses, we talked about that. Jupiter's going into your ninth house, which is quite interesting. That's a nice thing, actually, because we've often felt lost a lot of times. Felt like we were sort of arid, wandering around. I mean, philosophically and ideologically. And then Jupiter coming into there sometimes usually introduces us to new ways of thinking, to new religions, philosophies, worldviews, sometimes even an actual mentor or a teacher, someone who can teach us a lot of things. Sometimes we meet a foreign man, you know, that's your
Ooh,
cup of
that's
tea.
foreign man, Frankie. I'm so excited. Don't say that to me.
What's that?
I said a foreign man. Don't say that to me.
Oh, yeah, you'd love that kind of shit, wouldn't you?
Yes, I want an Italian so bad.
Well, one of them is sort of something.
Well, he's Puerto Rican, but
I didn't know if I was allowed to say that. So,
oh no, you're fine.
I mean, that's not really foreign because Puerto Rico's basically an American colony. But I know what you're saying exactly. And yeah, I'm being political again. I should shut my fucking mouth. So. What? I can't help it. I'm a pissy lady.
Comments real quick just to see if there's any more charts that I've missed.
Sure. Yeah, last call for drinks. Yeah.
Okay, well, Destiny's here if you want to do her chart. Hi again, Destiny.
Yeah, and that'll be the last one, I guess. And Destiny, I think we have Destiny stuff already.
July 11th, 1990.
Well, let's go look at that. Do you hear oh shit, I don't want to show that. Ugh, I don't want to share my fucking screen like that. Stop share. Do you hear the voices singing? I've dreamed a dream of time gone by.
I hear your voice in my nightmares.
Yo, I had a nightmare last night, and it was like right before I woke up. I was on a snowy mountain, like a big, big, big snowy mountain, and I fucking hate heights. And I had gotten up there on a ski lift, and I must have had my eyes closed getting up there because it's like I don't remember getting up there. And
Jesus.
I'm deathly scared of. I used to be a big snowboarder, and now I'm deathly scared of ski lifts ever since my POTS got really bad. You know? And so all of a sudden I'm up on this fucking ledge, and I'm like, how do I get down from here? And I started climbing down this thing, and next thing I know, I'm on this fucking ledge on this icy cliff, looking over this drop, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, "Ah!" and I'm like crying, help me. And there's like dudes up there, they're like, "Ugh, just get up. Ooh." And I'm like, no, help me.
Oh,
And one of them comes up below me, like, and I don't know how he got below me, but he's like, come on, you little bitch, like pushing me up. And I'm like and then one guy, I'm like, pull my hand. And he's like, oh, shut up. And I'm like,
no,
I'm,
can't.
and I'm like grasping, climbing up. And I woke up at that point and I was literally grabbing on my pillows, like I was climbing up the fucking snow cliff. And I was like, oh shit, what does that mean? It's got to mean that I have to rely on other people and I can't just be this like
Cold hearted.
yeah, exactly.
No offense.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean it was a pretty clear dream. And obviously it had to do with my fears of heights and and my
And
distaste of the snow. But anyway, I'll find destiny. Destiny's child.
say my name, say my name.
Say my name, say my name, say my name.
Oh, Empress commented, I don't know if this is relevant, but I did lose a child during September 2023. I am so sorry.
Oh my gosh. Who said
I
that?
Empress.
I'm so sorry.
I am so sorry.
I can't imagine. I can't. As a
I
parent.
just want to know if you need someone to talk to help relate through these things, I'm here for you because I've also lost a child, so we can relate to that. If you need somebody that'll be here to talk to about things because it's not easy.
And you both had Libra rising, didn't you?
Yeah.
I really have to go potty really quick. Like it'll take me, you know, look at these two motherfuckers over there.
Oh no, you're fine. I can entertain the folks while you're
And
away.
look at those two cats. Like they're plotting against me. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Does anybody have any transit questions I can answer while Frankie's away? Comment below. I'm here to take all questions and help. And also, while you're here, if you haven't donated to the stream, do so. It's always, welcomed. I'm sorry, I don't know how to fill up empty air here. I'm not like Frankie. I'm not used to like talking to myself.
I feel so much better. Oh wait, I should close that door. That's my bathroom. No one needs to see my bathroom. Dude, cat, you're on my laptop. It's not a heating pad. That's a computer.
Thank God I'm back to fill the dead air.
I hate dead air. I always feel dead air. What, you told me you would entertain people. Why were you lying?
I asked people to comment and nobody's commented yet. I think
So
they're all waiting.
you don't rely on your audience to make content. You have to fill the void.
Trying to be interactive. That's all.
Yeah, well, you can't see, but that's relying. I'm just telling you, it's not like I know a whole lot. I'm just saying. I had to do all kinds of public speaking shit. And you could try and be interactive, but you can't let your audience try and carry you. You have to keep talking shit. You know what, though? Like, I don't think having contempt for your audience is the best business model, is it? No.
And on the situation. But I do need to add on Destiny wanted a synastry reading. So if you have her partners in there too,
She's got one partner or two partners?
just one.
Yes. I'll just trying to think of how I want to do this. Um, I'll just do this really fucking quick, like blast through. Just, God, I hate when I do that to my forehead. Come on, motherfucker. There we go. So Aquarius rising Saturn, seventh house ruler is the sun in Aries in the third house. She needs a communicative type partner, someone she could share ideas with. Pluto square Mars. Mars is conjunct the ascendant. She's independent. Well, no, she's independent and codependent. She's got a tendency to seek her value through other people, but at the same time, she wants her autonomy, likes to be a fucking leader, sometimes probably. Gets dry skin, very dry skin, dry hair, dry lips. You need lube.
Everything's just dry.
Yeah, everything's dry.
Everything's dry.
Dry, dry, dry. Oh, and Mars is square Pluto. Everything's I already said that. Everything's difficult. Oh, seventh house ruler, third house. Oh, we already said that too. So anyway, we know she needs a talkative partner, but she's got issues. Maybe anger issues, maybe trust issues. Stop share. Let's go to the partner. Hello, partner.
Howdy there.
Okay. How do I do this again? Here we go. Share my screen, share my screen, share my screen. Their seventh house rulers, Venus and Capricorn in the 10th house. They want someone they can show off a little bit, but at the same time, someone practical. Now he's got terrible mommy issues, emotional issues, depression or bipolar something. Pluto moon shit, you know. Pluto moon shit, and it's a Scorpio moon. Mommy issues probably. Which can give weird warped views of women or relationships with women sometimes. He might be a bit fanatical. Mars in the ninth house can be a little bit of a fanatic. Very passionate about what they believe, their way or the highway, you know. Very argumentative sometimes. Anyway. So this person brings a lot of baggage to relationships, whether or not they're aware of it. They had a sense of lack of direction growing up. Probably felt like they disappointed their parents in a guilt complex kind of thing, unfortunately. But I do see that with Saturn in the 10th house. Oftentimes a child feels like the parents have high expectations of them, and that they don't fulfill those expectations because their life direction doesn't match. They don't even have a sense of their own life direction. And that's the problem. It's delayed. You know, ooh, did I get a match? Ooh. I get all kinds of matches on dating apps. Sorry, I got distracted. I mean, my main motivation in life is sex. You know, it is what it is. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Hey, when you got a bunch of shit in the fifth house, can't fucking help it. But I want someone to fall in love with me. Like I want an actual partner soon. I do want to do that whole sort of thing. Because right now it's just like, casual. I do want like a thing, like a stable. But anyway, that's not important. What's important is you have the reverse of this whole thing that Amber had and Empress had. Where you're having the eclipses oscillate between your first and seventh house, but as an Aries rising. So this eclipse happening in April is going to start off that existential crisis if you haven't been feeling it already, because you had a similar eclipse in 2023 and I think it was in April also. I think it was also in April. So I think you have a sense of this already. But once again, this is a big, big, big beginning of an 18-year cycle that's completely reinitiating your sense of identity. You see? It's like, born again sort of thing, but you're not joining the evangelical church. It's sort of feeling yourself in a brand new way. And it could be very traumatic. And it oftentimes is predicated on big beginnings and endings in romantic relationships. Something happens, a big breakup or meeting someone new that challenges how we conventionally felt ourselves or experienced ourselves. It's a difficult time. Not gonna lie. And then you go into the 12th and 6th house phase where it's like, I've got to be alone for a minute while I feel all this out. Like, I don't know exactly what I'm thinking and feeling. I got to think about, it's this processing time. I really do need to write like a short book about the eclipse cycle because it really is a useful technique to see how we consciously go through these phases as eclipses oscillate from two signs and hence two houses. So it's like we have this sixfold sort of division of our lunar cycle. Right? It's a draconic cycle. It's called draconic because it has to do with the nodes. And the nodes were known as the dragon's head, the north node, and the dragon's tail, the south node. Why is that? And why is the north node called north? Because, as we said earlier, the nodes are the intersection of the moon's orbit with the Earth's. That is the plane of the Earth's orbit with the moon's. So this spot right here where they intersect, that's a node. Now, why is it the north node though? Because it's ascending the moon towards celestial north. That's the ascending node. And then the place where the moon would intersect, descending towards celestial south, that's the south node, you see? And so these were called the eclipsing places. And the whole symbolism of a dragon, right? The dragon's head and the dragon's tail, came from the idea that during an eclipse, a dragon was devouring the sun or devouring the moon, making them go dark. You see? And so the whole nodal cycle, the eclipse cycle, as I call it, to me represents a maturation in consciousness that necessarily happens over an 18-year period. And that cycle repeats. Yeah. Now, it doesn't, when I say necessarily, I mean it necessarily happens, but you don't necessarily go along with it. You could still be a rotten piece of shit by the end of the thing. if you don't take some awareness from the experiences and the lessons that emerge from all that. You understand? But if you do, if you choose to cooperate with it and become more aware and everything, then you can make a lot of progress as a person. And what do I mean by progress? I mean you become more sensitive and yet more detached and lighthearted about things. And when I mean more sensitive, it's an awareness of the influences, right? As subtle as they can be, that's the sensitivity that we have upon the world, upon others, because we're aware of ourselves and what sort of force we're putting out. Because we're always emitting force. And you can see that. You're speaking, you're affecting, you're moving. You're a moving fucking being. So yes, you have an influence. You're making choices in the world. You're doing things, you're interacting with people. And you see, this is very important for you. Why? Because you have an 11th house sun and an 11th house north node, which is about connection. It's about hopes too, and aspirations and dreams, but it has to do with friends and groups and like-minded people, because those are the people who share our hopes, our aspirations, our dreams, and the people who help us in those. You have the opposite situation of me. I have the sun in the north node in the 5th house. You have them in the 11th house. So perhaps you're a selfish or carefree or both little brat. Maybe things were all about you and your expression and having fun, right? And then as you get older and approach age 40, or I mean, age 38, really, when it's the second nodal return, then you start feeling a sense of responsibility and of wanting to connect with like-minded people and get involved with causes or idealistic things. You know, it's wanting to start to participate because you feel you feel as if you can participate in the suffering of others. You feel a mutual sort of. Are you trying to say something, Amber? Are you getting upset? Are you getting hurt?
No,
Worried?
you're fine. Sorry, I'm just breathing.
You're breathing?
Breathing.
Oh, okay, good.
Jesus Christ. I'm not having, no, I will never have sexual intercourse on YouTube Live.
I don't think you're allowed to.
I was going to say, there's not enough money in the world to pay me anyways, so.
Wow.
But I was going to say, I have this sun node thing in the 11th house too, so I'm just listening to you.
Yeah. Well, it's important because as you get older, you start to feel a greater sense of responsibility, as I said. You start to feel yourself as more of a participant in a greater community, if you will. And you start to find yourself maybe wanting to participate with groups or whatever. But the 11th house is also our audience, you know, and our fans and all that sort of thing. People who want us to succeed, like people who support us, you see. So there's a lot of different facets to it. So you may be popular, and you may be more popular as you get older, but especially you'll start to feel a greater sense of responsibility in wanting to participate or be included or inclusive, right? Rather than just being the center of attention. Which I'm having the opposite thing. I was in a bunch of political and spiritual groups growing up, just being a fucking participant. And now I'm like, I want to be the center of attention. I want. You know? Now I'm being a selfish little brat. You know? So anyway, I mean, I hope this is useful stuff. There's a lot going on. Mars is going through your 10th house. And you have to watch out at, well, shit. I'm supposed to be doing synastry. I'm talking about this fucking partner. I'm sorry. I zoned out. God damn. I'm supposed to be doing synastry. Jesus. I was
Come
wasting.
on.
What?
I said, come on, Frankie.
No, you're supposed to help me with this. You know. That's why you're here. You're supposed to, you know, I suck at life. And your whole reason for being here is to keep me on track. Otherwise, I'm going to suck harder.
Okay, I'll scream next time.
Thank you. I mean, what else do you do as a Leo?
Well, I am a Libra rising, so kind of just, be passive aggressive until I get angry.
Oh, that shit's annoying. Like, just tell me how you feel. I don't have time. Oh shit. What is this? Ah, it's Mars time. It's Mars time. Anyway, I'm looking at the bad stuff first. And there's a big bad thing that comes out right off the bat. And Saturn square the moon. So the partner feels like their emotions probably get trampled, or they're not able to express themselves, or they're scared to express themselves. And maybe they feel like you're controlling, or that you try and push the issue, or that try to tell them how to feel or how they should feel, or something like that. But Saturn is sort of an oppressive feeling. And the moon is very sensitive, and the moon's like, why are you saying this to me? Now, it might be that you don't even mean things in the way that they're taking it, but it's their own psychology and their own hangups, and they take it a certain way. So this sort of thing indicates that there's a big need for communication, because someone's going to feel resentful after a while, you see, because this sort of transit breeds aspect breeds resentment. So something you have to be aware of. And then, of course, your Pluto conjunct their moon. Sorry, I'm getting tired. And this is a really hard relationship to break up. Like, we get so obsessive into each other. And it gets to be like just a sense of urgency all the time. And that's not a comfortable way to be, but it's so compelling. It's like we fall in love so quickly, but we grow deep roots into each other, and it's very hard to untangle those. So it will just be a very painful breakup at some point, because nothing lasts forever. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. Mercury square Mercury is difficult for communication. It's like we think and speak in a different way, like you're speaking different languages. It's not fun. And his Uranus square your sun. So he might feel like he's flighty or not committed or whatever, And you might feel like you want more commitment, more more consistency out of the whole thing, and where he might seem like he's just kind of cavalier. But there's some really good stuff too. So his moon trine your Venus. That's wonderful. It's wonderful for feeling comfortable and attracted to each other. Your moon trine his ascendant, right? It's a very deep connection. It feels like it's sort of, meant to be. And then his Mercury trine your Jupiter. So there is a possibility for good communication, but you have to be the Jupiter person and be more wise and facilitate the thing and guide it. So, like, guiding the structure of how conversations go, perhaps, like, and I always preach this to people, where you let each other speak uninterrupted for a certain amount of time. But you have to guide the structure of the conversation, you see. I mean, I'm not going to even mention that. It's a waste. His Mars conjunct your moon, he wants to get you pregnant, probably. That's the baby making aspect.
Oh yeah, we talked about this before.
Baby making. The penis in the moon. The moon's fertility, and Mars likes to fuck. You know?
Lots of cheeks clapping.
Mars rules the sperm ducts. Even in ancient astrology, you didn't know that, did you? So,
No, I always knew Mars ruled sperm.
no, Venus rules sperm and semen. But the
Or the
sperm
sperm.
ducts and the whole ejaculation thing is Mars. But like the fluid is Venus. I know. But Venus rules the fluids. The sexual fluid. I'm sorry. I'm a filthy, filthy fucking chick. I'm sorry.
Speaking of, they have Venus trine Pluto, which is beautiful.
I mean, it can be difficult, but I love it. Like I love it. It's very intense and very passionate sex.
Very binding.
It's binding, but it's like dark and fun. It's compelling, you
It's
know.
a good binding.
I mean, I don't know. I had this with my ex-wife too, and we had some pretty good sex early on, but then everything got formulaic, you know. And then but I was the Pluto person, and the Pluto person always gets insecure after a while. And it gets very um apprehensive or scared to lose the other person. Oh, but here Mars conjunct the moon is great for either having a baby together or just having good sex or cream pies or whatever, you know. So um is Jupiter square your sun? I mean, he can feel like condescending maybe or pompous. Or maybe like he talks down to you. There's nothing really bad here. It's just I mean, the Pluto moon is really tough and Saturn moon is really tough. And you might be experienced as a bit of an authoritarian type figure. But he's going to be the Pluto person when it comes to the Venus thing. And so he's going to be obsessive about you too. But he probably thinks you're just very beautiful and he might get paranoid that someone's going to take you away. Is Jupiter opposite your moon too? So it might feel like he just sort of disregards your emotions, like, oh, he's too cool, too important, you know. Anyway, we should stop there. There's nothing like ultimately like terrible or deal breaker in there, you know. There's a lot of good stuff too. You know, oh, Jupiter trine Mars is like being each other's cheerleader. You know, like we encourage each other, cheer each other on.
Did you want to add any ending notes?
Yeah, rub a dub dub. Thanks for the, I don't know, dub dub.
Thanks for scrubbing me in the tub.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I think it was fine. I think we went through stuff. Pluto things, Pluto stuff. A lot of people have Pluto things and Pluto stuff. And it's just a big time in all of our lives and you know, really in humanity's timeline in general on this planet. It's a big deal. Vladimir Lenin said there's periods in history where centuries go by and not a lot happens. And then there's periods in history where centuries happen in years. And we're in one of those times where centuries happen in years. So just strap in, because life is about to feel like a strap on. Anyway, I love
Please take
everyone.
care of yourselves.
What's that?
I was telling everyone to take care of themselves.
Well, and I always say having friends and community and people who are supportive, you know, is the best thing. And it's awful because we're so isolated as people now.
And me and Frankie are always here to help you with your astrological needs always.
Yes. And you
And
can
please subscribe to the channel.
book a reading with me at frankielynch.com. So anyway, I hope this was useful and I hope you guys got something out of it. So mwah, and thank you, Amber. I love you, sweetheart.
For having me always. Love you guys. Have a good night.
Good night.